Hello, crypto friends, checking in on the sector. Sunday night, 4:45 p.m. Eastern. We just had the time change, and we have another leg down, continuing the daily downtrend. So we were in a scenario where at the top, it was very clear that the bear bots were defending a price level right under 9,200. We got a bull break straight into a dump. So you look at that and say, how do I not get faked out? I can't trust bull breaks. There's a preceding amount of action that we need to take into consideration. We have to know the longer term time frames. We had just bounced over 8% and we were just looking for a daily lower high. So if you're in a daily downtrend, you're already up 8% on the bounce, don't be looking to buy bull breaks. The risk to reward is not in your favor. That's the lesson there. But we're continuing the daily downtrend. This makes me a bit more confident in the longer term pattern that we've been watching for months at this point of the monthly equilibrium. We're getting a little bit more bear follow through from our monthly lower high being set at 10,522, and we now must see the bulls set a monthly higher low compared to 6,430. I personally, as I've talked about in previous videos, am having a longer term game plan swing trade to have less focus on it. I don't have to be watching every day. So fees don't eat me alive. I'm slowly scaling in, and I am looking for a higher low above 6,400, and if 6,400 breaks, I will exit my position for a loss, and I will exit long-term no-touch positions, because in my opinion, that would be short-term worst-case scenario. We would then be in a monthly downtrend. The next support after 6,400, we're looking back at 3,128, and it just would not be an ideal scenario. The trade that I am taking with one initial scale in at 8,700, the first out of a bunch of orders. Ideally, I'd like to see at least 5 fill. So maybe 8,700, maybe 7,900, 7,400, 7,000, 6,800, and then my stop loss is set. So ideally, I want to have a break-even price at the end of this. Well, it depends on where we pull back in terms of how many of my orders are going to fill. But I am accepting a pretty solid loss if that were to see a bear break under 6,400, but my risk to reward is going to be very favorable because my risk will be, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, if we were to drop all the way down, I'd probably end up with an average in the low 7,000s, and I would end up losing 15% with a bear break. But the reward, if my average is the low 7,000s, we're going to be looking at reward of 60+%. So I like that risk to reward, and I'm just being very patient and slow. That being said, I can do short-term trading as well. And in my stock account, when I do this, I have 2 separate accounts, longer term, shorter term. Very easy to distinguish mentally. The last thing we want to be doing is thinking about a long-term trade game plan and executing it, but then being too focused on the shorter term time frames and having that mess us up. So I have my long-term position that has a long-term game plan to it, but I am trading shorter term positions as well. And I will look to, ideally, with those shorter term trades, bring down continuously my cost basis of my long-term positions, but always keeping them mentally separate so I am not crossing wires and mixing signals. So at this point, I did make an initial entry at 8,455 to attempt to bottom fish this support level, and then I made a mistake. And my mistake was I forgot I had another order at 8,200. So that is absolutely something that I'm not pleased with myself about. In the end, it helped me, but that doesn't lessen the lesson that I need to learn to remember to always check my open orders, never leave orders open for day upon day that I forget about. So in the end, I came back to the computer, saw that I had that extra order, and sold it in the low 8,300s. So my break-even price on my small bounce position at this point is 8,355. And if we see another leg down and this hourly RSI goes towards single digits and the 4-hour RSI heads back down to the low 20s, I will look for another entry. Again, looking for a short-term 4-hour oversold bounce in this position. My longer-term position, if we break 8,000, I'm going to double the size of the position that I currently have and continue to slowly scale in. So long-term, I need a break of 8,000 for another entry. Shorter-term, probably same thing. I'd be looking to make an entry right around 8,000 for a second position. Again, just playing the 4-hour oversold bounce. That's what I'm doing personally. But bigger picture, monthly lower high set, looking for the monthly higher low. It's entirely possible that we set a weekly equilibrium while we're watching this monthly time frame. So we have support at 64.30 and 68.54, but we had a huge bull move with no weekly consolidation. We now have a significant pullback with no notable bounce. We may see a weekly equilibrium play out into April and beyond. So keeping an eye out on that. At this point, we know any bounce under 9,215 is just a daily lower high, and the daily RSI is fairly close to oversold, but we would have to break 8,000 to see that happen in the short term. BTC dominance chart, a bull break. This now makes every single bull break that we've seen a result of a drop in the cryptocurrency space, with altcoins dropping harder and Bitcoin holding up a little bit better. We have not seen at any point a Bitcoin bull move that the altcoins lag behind. They are always either step for step or ahead of Bitcoin on the bull moves. They just drop harder on the bear moves. And that's what this is showing us yet again. 66.39 was our top. It's a double top at this point. We only broke it by 12 pennies. Not convincing. ETH. So ETH dropped to a lower low as well. If you remember the last video that we did a couple days ago, we were talking about zooming into the 2-day time frame for clarity on some names and watching for potential bear flags. ETH was not a favorable bear flag setup, but other names were that did not bounce as significantly. So we did break 209. Not a ton of follow through. We got down to 203. The daily downtrend is our guide. We're looking for a weekly higher low to be set. Again, when I see this much volatility from both a bull move and then the size of the pullback, I look for equilibriums to be the result. Checking in on the Trader Pro alert system. So we had enough volatility for those 4-hour super stack alerts to be firing off again. So here's ETH on Binance hitting the top with an overextended super stack and then hitting a low for now. We'll see if we get bounce follow through. Got a little bit of follow through for now, but I'd want to see this price make its way back up to 230 if we're going to call this a successful 4-hour super stack from the bottom. Again, it's when multiple time frames are lining up. I personally like when longer term time frames fire off, because that means 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly, 4-hour are all meeting certain conditions to send that alert out. And so far, ETH responding pretty well to this alert. ETH BTC, a bit of a pullback, but still holding the low of consolidation at this point, which still keeps the weekly bull flag possibility alive as well. I do want some positions in ETH, so I will look to enter a longer term position. Probably going to place a bid tonight. If we break 200, I definitely am going to be looking to establish a longer term position, looking for a monthly higher low in ETH. Although monthly consolidation has not started yet, a monthly inside bar is currently forming. But I do want some ETH exposure. LTC, lower high and lower low. This was one of the names that looked more like a bear flag on the 2-day time frame. Following through, anything on the daily chart under 63.90 is just a lower high. Say you don't want to scale into long-term positions into weakness. Say you want to wait for bulls to shift their momentum. You're just sitting here saying, I don't care what the price is doing as long as we're in a daily downtrend. And just stay very focused on that, because every single bounce, until we see some significant bull volume or some significant recovery, is just looking for the lower high. Weekly time frame for Litecoin, anything above 38.74 is a higher low. So again, this is an equilibrium setup. A name that just flashed into my mind, an MJ penny stock, monthly time frame, not a penny stock, a US MJ name, but monthly time frame. Big bull move up, all-time high, big pullback from the all-time high, over 50%, equilibrium tightening range. That's what I'm looking for on weekly time frames in the crypto space. XRP, lower high and lower low, definitely looked like a 2-day bear flag. Weekly consolidation at this point getting really significant. Bulls must hold 1842, and on any weekly bounce, we're just looking for a weekly lower high. Pullback from the high, very significant. It continues to stand out a bit weaker than other names in the crypto space. BNB had a big bounce, not enough to fend off a bear break though. 1770 broke, we dropped down to 1763. Not a significant amount of follow through. So bulls would love to see a bounce, because anytime we see bear breaks with no follow through, we start to look for the possibility of bears getting a bit tired. But again, weekly chart, bigger perspective, low, big bull move, big bear pullback, watching for that tightening range. But we have to find a bottom, and we have to change the daily trend bullish on all these names for those weekly higher lows to be set. Link, keeping the daily uptrend, continues to stand out as a lead bull. Support was 375. We bounced off of 385. Great bottom fish off that level. 4-hour time frame. Did get down towards oversold. Look at that volume climax. And a better bounce than pretty much everybody at this point. And again, looking at the super stack alerts, didn't nail the top. Fired off a little bit early. We did see further continuation. Fired off again right near the top. And then down here, we got another one. And again, if I want to see exactly where it fired off, I go into the super stack, check the log, and it tells me oversold happened at 405, and we are currently trading around 426. So a nice 5% bounce from that signal at this point. Bulls need to change the 4-hour trend in their favor to set a daily higher low and keep the daily uptrend intact. XTZ USD is still holding the low. That's the first name we've encountered that is doing so, aside from Link, of course. And that support is 255 and 252, and we just bounced off of 258. So there is a base of support that is attempting to hold, and if we hold that support, it's certainly going to stand out as one of the stronger names. Right now, we're not seeing much bounce follow through. I'll go back to Bitcoin in just a moment and look at the short-term perspective. We're a bit bigger picture for now. So BCH, lower low as well. Weekly time frame, big bull move, big bear move, looking for the weekly higher low. And tightening range. 4-hour trend will have to change, and we're not even seeing 4-hour bounces get any follow through at this point. BSV, lower low. Weekly time frame definitely looks a little bit different. I prefer the other ones that look a bit more clear to me, but a bear break, not a ton of follow through at this point. And we are looking at anything under 260.86 as a lower high. So what this bear move has given us is a clear daily lower high. Most names dropping to lower lows. The names that have not stand out as a bit stronger. Weekly consolidation continuing. No weekly higher low being set yet. And some pretty oversold conditions on shorter term time frames. So looking at the Bitcoin bounce attempt, the hourly RSI dropped all the way down into the single digits. It's getting pretty crushed. And we haven't seen any meaningful bounce. We've seen sideways, leg down, sideways, leg down, sideways. We may get another leg down. So as I said, I'm in a smaller position right now with an average of about 83.55, and I will add a second position to that if we drop and break 81.59 to a lower low. And the reason I am comfortable doing so is number one, bigger picture, we're anticipating weekly higher lows to form in the crypto space. Number two, daily RSI approaching oversold, not there yet. Number three, the 4-hour RSI would then be around 20 or maybe even the teens at that point, pushing the teens. And the 1-hour RSI would be back to the single digits if we get that bear break. So I am fairly comfortable. Again, these are not significant positions at this point. The short-term trade position is the same size currently as my longer-term position, but I don't plan on holding that shorter-term position for too long. So I am treating the space a bit more conservatively with position sizing and a bit more patience with a longer-term perspective on one trade and a shorter-term perspective on a different trade. I hope you had a good weekend. We'll see how markets open up. We know we've been holding up well the past few days, of course, aside from these last 2 days. Comparative to market weakness, oil is in free fall. It's definitely important to be paying attention to what's going on all over the place. The dollar is dumping, oil is dumping, the market is holding its initial low, but that may be tested again this week. And we do not have a bullish scenario in the crypto space as this lower low keeps the daily downtrend alive. Hope you are well. Check out the free week trial of TraderPro.com, and we'll see you shortly.